Right, what we're actually going to be doing here today is that we're going to be cutting a design style, which is basically going to be symmetrical paisley design. Now what that's going to require us to do is to be able to establish exactly where the symmetry begins. And where we're actually going to begin from will be the nape area. So what we're going to actually do is find the middle section within the nape area, and we're actually going to be able to split that into to have a symmetrical design. So exactly what will be on one side will be on the other side. The main thing before we actually begin the design is to ensure that we've actually looked at all the influencing factors that might be or could influence the haircut. Things that you find will generally be cow's lick. You might find it may be the nape swirl. You might find it might be a double crown. It might even be the texture or the way that the hair is. Generally, the things that actually affect the designs would be the density. So if the density is actually less on one side than it is the other, you'll find that the temporal area is generally those areas that actually happens. So what we're actually going to do is just to ensure that we've got strong outline first of all. So we'll actually try and frame the haircut in the beginning by just using one of our clippers and just getting a nice sharp edge all the way around, and that helps us to establish exactly the right sort of shape, and it gives us a good foundation to begin the symmetry. The main thing is to ensure that we get the outside lines just behind the ears. So first of all, just tilt the head into position and we comb. Very important to keep your fingers behind the ears, and we'll just literally just tap just to get our initial outline. Once we've done that, we just move to the other side. Actually, just tap the same motion in. Just use the back of the tool just to clean the neck area, as it's a sensitive area. We're now able to just try and get evenness. We've got a point here, we need to get rid of that. This is a little bit of a nape swirl that this client has, so what we need to do is just remove that and get a nice little soft line to it. This is it's a lady, so we actually want the lines to be quite graceful, quite feminine. So what we're going to do is actually take those points off and give it a nice curve. And then change to the other side. Now the area of the outliner too that we're using is basically the corners, which allows us to get curvature. So all we're doing is just using the corners almost as a guide or as a pencil to enable us to get the curvature that we wish to have. And the rest of the area, again, just keeping it on its back, flat to the neck, and you can just clean the rest of the hair off. Very important to do this, as the neck is a very irritable area, and dragging the clipper along the neck would cause irritation. So we just use the corner of the blade just to tap. So now we've more or less got our symmetrical area, as you can see there. We are now able to just try and get evenness. We've got a point here, we need to get rid of that. This is a little bit of a nape swirl that this client has, so what we need to do is just remove that and get a nice little soft line to it. This is it's a lady, so we actually want the lines to be quite graceful, quite feminine. So what we're going to do is actually take those points off and give it a nice curve. As you can see, it's just literally just a slight tapping motion that we're using, just to ensure that we cause as little irritation to the neck area as possible. But this client has quite thick, fairly coarse hair, so it does require a little bit more attention into getting sharp lines. So as you can see here, we've got a curve. And this curve was achieved just by keeping the clipper straight and taking off all the points, whereas our inverted curve was achieved just by using the corner of the tool and positioning it just enough to use as a pencil. So again, just cleaning the neck area, just keeping it on its flat back. And we'll literally just take the corners off, and that allows us just to get a nice curve. Now we have our outline, we've got our symmetrical outline shape. We can now begin the inside and be able to put a symmetrical design in there. Based on this outline shape that we've got, it makes things a lot easier to be able to put our symmetrical design based on this outline. The next tool we're going to be using is the Andis Trendsetter. The reason why we're going to be using this is just to take down the level of hair. It's very important to be able to have the right length. If you can have too much, the design could grow out too quickly. If you have too little, you might not be able to see the clarity in the design. So the ideal height for anyone, regardless of hair texture type, whether it be Afro, whether it be European, the ideal length of hair to have for a design would be a low blanket of hair, just to ensure that it's flat to the head, but it doesn't enable you to be able to see the scalp through the hair. And that will give you a strong density to have a good sharp design. If you're able to see through the hair, there's not much disparity between the line and the design itself. So it's just to ensure that you're not able to see that, make sure the density looks quite bold. So what we're going to do is just put our attachment onto our Trendsetter, just clip that on. So just literally comb and stroke. So as you can see, the Trendsetter is having no problem with just removing the hair. And we just work our way around, as the whole design is actually going to cover all the back and sides. We just want to ensure that we've got the right length of hair that we need. And once we've done that, we can start to begin to etch in our design. The next tool we're going to be using is the Andis XL 2-speed, which has 2 speeds, first and second. So what we're going to do is just attach our clipper attachment on there. You actually get up to 18 blades with this. The one that we're using here is a 3/0 blade. So as we begin our line, we actually want a form of border or somewhat a frame that will actually follow our perimeter outline that we've got here. So it's very important to be able to see the width that you're going to create for your border. And how you do that is to ensure that you actually see the line, or enable yourself to see the line, and enables you to be able to see the width that you wish to create for your design. So as you can see, we just put our line in. So we just enable ourselves, just keep the blade away from, or the body of the tool away from the design, just so you can see what you're doing at all times. Very important. And we'll work around again. The technique that we're going to use to actually get precision on the design in terms of where we're placing the tool is the finger technique. So we just actually use our finger, we place it down on the neck, the comb goes into our hands, our thumb is placed behind the blade, and you use that thumb to actually just lever your tool into the position that you wish to have. Now this just helps for precision, it helps those that might be afraid of using big clippers to do designs. And again, we're still only using literally the corner of our tool here, so it would just be the first 2 teeth of the clipper that we're using to get our design. What I'm just doing there is just checking, just to make sure that we can get our design as symmetrical as possible. So we're just literally just tapping just to get the main shape, and at the same time we're just looking continuously at the opposite side just to try and get it as symmetrical as we possibly can. Now we've done our main outline, we can continue with going back to the center point and get the part of the design that we want here also.